You're listening to the Woman Who Chat podcast with me, your host, Sandra Garlick. A podcast where I chat to women in business who share their knowledge and top tips, especially for you. I also share my own tips to help you gain visibility fast so that you appear to be everywhere, even when you're not. I'm delighted to bring this podcast to you each week to inspire and motivate you to achieve. Enjoy the podcast. Woman Who Chat is sponsored by Grow Radio. Grow Radio is an online radio station dedicated to bringing you a different podcast on the hour, every hour. I'm proud that Woman Who Chat is played on Grow Radio every Tuesday at 3 p.m. and Friday at 8 a.m. and to be a part of their podcasting community. If you want to listen to the station, explore their shows, check out many of the blogs to improve your podcasting skills, or get your podcast onto Grow Radio, head over to growradio.uk today. Welcome to Woman Who Chat, and today is another solo episode with me. And today I'm talking all about business efficiency. And at the time of recording this, we're just approaching the school holidays, or we might be mid through the school holidays when you're listening to this. And it's a time where people seem to take on a lot with holidays, families at home to care for, trying to juggle multiple things. And although everyone says they're switching off for the summer, sometimes we end up doing twice as much. I know that I tend to overload my diary with everything I think I'm going to do during the summer months, and sometimes I don't even touch the surface. So I think quite often we can get overwhelmed at this time. We just don't know which thing to do next. And by being efficient in business, we can actually get more done. And it's a little bit of time saving. It's a little bit of prioritizing, all those things. So I thought I'd share some tips with you today that might just help you, and you won't wobble, you won't fall over. And if you just do at least one of these, it might just help you a little bit. But I know that sometimes we can get so many ideas. At the moment, my head is practically exploding with ideas that I want to deliver over the next 6 months. And I'm at the stage where I could easily get overwhelmed. But what I've done is followed some of these tips that I'm going to share with you. And by using them, I've managed to allocate time where I know I've given myself lots of time to do things. I've probably overestimated ×3. But sometimes that's what we need, because every time we go to do something, we say, oh, that'll take me an hour. But it never actually does in practice. It takes far longer if we want to do something properly. So I'm going to just share some of my business efficiency tips with you that will help you be more productive. It will probably stop you or reduce your procrastination. And you're less likely to want to throw in the towel or throw the children in the paddling pool or whatever it is, but you'll keep your sanity this summer. So as part of this topic for the month, business efficiency, I'm going to share these with you now. So the first one is time blocking. I found time blocking to be absolutely essential now to what I do. I block out time for certain things, but I've also started using time stacking as well. So what I do is if I'm going to do something, I do something else similar to that. So if I'm having a day in the office, I'll do everything that requires me to have a day in the office. So if I've got a Zoom meeting, for example, today I've delivered a Zoom workshop. So I'm also recording podcasts because it's logical that I've blocked that time out to sit at my laptop. I'm in the office, it's quiet, I can get a lot done. So in actual fact, I've probably produced far more than I would on a time when I hadn't time blocked and hadn't time stacked to do those particular tasks. And I've got another day, I think it's next week, where I'm recording a series of podcasts and delivering a workshop. Again, I've designated that as an office day where I'm going to sit at my laptop and I'm going to produce content. So that day will all be around the production of content. So it's easier for me to be in flow and to be more productive with those particular tasks. And what will I do for that day? I'll do exactly the same as I've done today. I'll plan my day, I'll plan a start time, I'll plan my breaks within that day so I'm fully rested and have the energy to continue, but I'll also make sure that I've got those things in the diary so they get done. And then I'll block the time within that then to complete those, to download the recordings, to do the show notes, to do the follow-ups, everything else I've got to do around those particular things. I think scheduling specific times for doing your work and also for family things as well. We so often put all the work things in and forget to put the family things in as well. So, I want to spend time with my little grandchildren over the summer holidays. So I've blocked out days for them. I've blocked out times for other things around family caring responsibilities. And most importantly, I've blocked out time for me, time which is non-negotiable. That has gone in the diary first. That will make me far more efficient in my business if I've got that downtime scheduled in. So if you stick to those and make them non-negotiable, don't cancel them. Don't cancel the you time to fit in an extra piece of work. Make the work fit in around you. You'll maintain far better balance and you'll be far more productive as a result. So what's my next? My number 2 tip is to prioritize tasks. And you can use a priority matrix. I focus at this sort of time on the tasks I must get done. You have those tasks on your to-do list, the ones that you've got to get done, but you don't want to do them. And then you've got the ones you don't really need to do, but you want to do them because they're fluffy and they're nice and they won't take long and you enjoy doing them, like going down the rabbit hole on Canva. I like playing on Canva, but it would just eat up my time. It's like scrolling on social media. If I go on Facebook now, I probably won't lift my eyes up for half an hour and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So you've got to focus on the tasks first that must get done. I keep referring to this. Eat that frog is perfect. Pick that ugly, disgusting, horrible, gooey task that you don't want to do that must be done. And I pick the revenue generating tasks first because quite often they are quite meaty. And I need to generate revenue to come into my business. Without that revenue coming in, I can't do all the other things. So the revenue generating tasks have to come high up on the priority list. You can number them. You can number them 1, 2, and 3. You can color code them with highlighters, or you can highlight them with different other ways, put arrows, stars, whatever you do, but think about the ones that must get done. You can use that matrix, which is urgent, important, non-urgent, non-important, and put things in order in that way. That might help you. But as I say, rather than picking the fluffy tasks and going down that rabbit hole, try and focus your time on the priority ones that must get done, because actually if you get those done first, you'll be far more efficient in everything else that you do. Number 3 is delegate and outsource. And I don't just mean your work. I'm more efficient because I outsource certain tasks. I have a gardener come and do the garden. He doesn't do the whole garden, but he comes and he does the big tasks in my garden because I know that would take me days and days to keep on top of. I haven't got a huge garden, but it's got a lot of growth in it. It's got a lot of plants. It's got a lot of trees. It's got things that the more it rains, the more it's going to grow, and I have to keep cutting it back. I'll do my lawns. I can do those in 10 minutes. And I can do a quick flick round with, a chainsaw. I quite enjoy that. But the bigger tasks, I do get a gardener in. I have somebody come and do my cleaning. When my kids were small, I had an ironing lady. Now, I don't buy anything now that needs ironing because that helps me with my efficiency in that if I don't need to iron it, if I wash it, I dry it, it's fine. I hang it up, that's okay. And that cuts out a huge amount of time for me. I don't have to iron. I get my cleaning done when I need it done, and I just titivate during the week, and that keeps that on top of that. So I've released all that time, which makes me more efficient, and I've now started delegating and outsourcing tasks to my team, which means I'm left to do the stuff I enjoy and the stuff that generates revenue, because that's actually my learning. That's what I've learned. If I sit and do everything, I'll get nothing done because I'll spend time flitting from one thing to another, and that's not efficient at all, which is where the time blocking comes back in. I'm briefly interrupting this podcast. Have you ever watched a speaker on stage and thought, I'd love to do that one day? Have you wondered how they stand on stage and speak without notes so confidently? Do you wish that you could banish the nerves and anxiety and know exactly what to say? Then you need to attend the one-day speaker bootcamp on Sunday, the 8th of September. Early bird tickets are now on sale. It's a day packed full of content, and you'll walk away with a blueprint for a keynote speech that you can deliver confidently on stage again and again. Book your place at womanwho.co.uk/events. Now back to the podcast. Tip number 4 is to use tech and use technology as much as you can. I'm a technology lover. I'm an Apple queen. I've got my Apple Mac, my Apple phone, my iPad. I use a Remarkable now. I can't go back to paper after using this. It's magic. But it improves your productivity. Find the apps, find the tools, find the automation, get those reminders set, things put in your diary, streamline your workflows. I've been going through my workflows, my customer journeys, and really saying, and what happens next? And what happens next? And if you go through everything you do and say, and what happens next, you'll find that you're building up a workflow, and you can look at that workflow and think, where are the gaps? What isn't automated right now? What isn't efficient? Where am I spending my time? But you can also identify very quickly what people you need to help you with those gaps to fill them. It might be other people, it might be other systems, it might be processes, it might be software, it could be anything. But make tech your friend. It's there to help you. I'm a big supporter of AI. I believe that it can help you. I don't believe it replacing you. I don't believe in using AI to literally copy and paste content, but it can help you. You can ask it questions. As long as you put the right stuff in, it will come out. So if I've got a big piece of copy I need to understand, I might put it in AI and say, can you summarize this for me in 5 points? And it saved me time. I might say, can you give me 5 ideas on X? And that will be a starting point for something else. Can you read this and put it into a different way, or put it into a more friendly manner? And then I can reword it myself. It can be so useful if you input and ask it the right information and give it the right information. It's not a replacement, it's an assistant. And I think if you see it as an assistant, it's a great piece of kit. 5, and probably I should have put this as number 1 because I think this is the most important, and that is self-care and breaks. And I touched on this earlier, but schedule regular breaks in your day, in your week, in your month, each 6 to 12 weeks, each quarter. Make sure those breaks are in there and put in some self-care activities. So, for example, I get up for 5 minutes every hour if I'm sat at my desk all day. If I'm not, then it's slightly different. But if I'm sat at a desk all day, I get up 5 minutes every hour. I have a lunch break. Before I even start work, I go and sit in the garden with a cup of coffee, if the weather's good enough. I have one thing each day that I look forward to that is self-care just for me. Even if that is sitting, drinking that cup of coffee or walking the dog, I have a little treat each week. I think, what's going to be my self-care treat this week? Even if that is just a nice new body lotion or something that's just for me. It might be some time out. It might be, just relaxing somewhere. And then I have a day out each month. What's that going to be? What's that going to look like? Is that a day with friends? Is that a day at the spa? Is it something shopping or whatever floats my boat that particular month. And then I factor in a break, a mini break, at least every 6 weeks, sometimes up to 12 weeks, but at least every 6 weeks. That might be a spa weekend. And this weekend coming, I'm going off with friends to a spa weekend. I've not long come back from 2 weeks in Italy. I've got an August bank holiday weekend planned with friends. I've got a holiday plan later in the year. I've got these breaks deliberately scheduled in to make sure I've got the downtime and I'm doing some self-care. I've got a gym membership. I will go swimming. I might join a dance class one week. I've got options there just for me. And I've actually bought my little doggy a car park permit so that I can go to our favourite dog walk, which has got a lake and it's got a long walk. He can free run. And that's good exercise for me too. And I love walking there. So, just spending that little bit of money, I think it cost me 30 something pound for a parking permit for the year. And I can just take my dog there and it's absolutely beautiful. I just want to share a little tool that I use. I have a to-do list. And on my to-do list, I sort of split it into 4 quadrants. What have I got to do this today? What have I got to do this week? What have I got to do this month? And what have I got to do this year? And I can move things around. Now, I can do this easily with a Remarkable because I can just split my page and cut and paste and do whatever. But you can do it as easily with a notebook or something, or Post-its even. Each day, I set myself 3 tasks that I want to complete. Only 3. If I do more, that's great, but I take them off this week. So what I do each day, I go on to this week and say, right, what have I got to do this week? Right, those 3 tasks, I lift them off and I put them in today. And if I get them done, that's great. And then the next day, it becomes today again. And I pick the next 3 tasks off this week. And then I look at my monthly tasks and say, well, what did I say I was going to get this month? Right, that needs to go into this week. So I could have week 1, 2, 3, 4, however you want to work it. But I find that's really useful for me. And I think if you have, some people do that. I love to use my Remarkable for that. Some people use Trello. Some people use Monday. There are lots of different little software options out there where you can use these tools to move tasks around and schedule them. I think the key here is to be organized and to have that to-do list, whether it's electronic, whether it's on a piece of software, on a Trello board, Monday or whatever, but to use a to-do list, because if it's not written down, you're likely to forget it. And the other thing is you can diarize things in your diary as well and have them there, and you can set up tasks in your diary as well. So things don't get missed, things don't get forgotten. I think the key thing is to identify the tasks and move them forward. I remember when I was working on my contract and I was a huge procrastinator with some tasks, and they would just sit on my to-do list forever. They'd sit at the bottom. They were tasks that needed to be done. And it wasn't until I decided to end the contract that they actually got done. And I cleared the whole to-do list before I went. But yeah, move your tasks forward, keep them moving, keep on top of them. Otherwise, they just sit at the bottom of a to-do list, and then you're not going to be efficient at all because they're going to keep niggling at you. They're the ones that are going to niggle at you. And I sleep wonderfully 8 hours every night. But if I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night, it'd be one of those little niggling tasks that's at the back of my mind. So planning is key. And through all this, be deliberate, be intentional. Don't purchase software if it's not going to help you. Don't, have apps if they're just going to clutter and confuse you. Really research what you want to use, what's going to be right for you. What's right for you isn't going to be right for somebody else. Somebody will say, oh, I use this, this is the greatest piece of software. It can do handstands and cartwheels whilst blindfolded and eating a yogurt. It's no good unless it's right for you. I've tried pieces of software and I've just felt so overwhelmed by them and never used them, and it's been a waste of money. So really research, use free trials, but don't sign up to every free trial all at once. Use them individually. Block out that time when you're going to spend some time looking at that particular piece of software to see if it's going to work for you, to see if you like it, to see if you like the user face, to see if it works for you, because not every piece of software will. And I'll just finish off by saying, focus on one thing at a time. I am doing an awful lot over the next couple of months. I think when I shared it all with my team last week, they were I blew their minds on the amount of stuff that I am doing, but I am only focusing on one thing at a time. So my week this week is time blocked. I've got lots of time that is just free time as well, because I'm managing a few personal things, but it's time blocked and it will get done. And it's great to see how that efficiency, by building in those few simple tips that I shared with you, is going to make me so more efficient, and so my productivity this month will go through the roof. It's not that I'm forgetting everything else, it's just that I'm focusing on achieving and completing one thing at a time, because the fear and the thing that I've had for many years, which I've learned from, is that you can have so many ideas, so many things you want to do, so many goals, so many intentions, and you can end up completing none of them. So if you focus on the one, the others don't have to fall by the wayside. They're there in the background, but just focus on one at a time, complete it, move on to the next one. And I think that would be my top tip and piece of advice that I would leave you with, is to focus on one thing at a time. I hope that has been really useful for you. If you've got any questions, please reach out. I'd love to hear them. Please feel free to subscribe to the podcast, and we'll be back with you again next week. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Woman Who Chat podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week for more inspiration, learning and top tips. In the meantime, visit womanwho.co.uk to find out how you can start your Woman Who journey, or even feature on a future podcast. You can also join the Woman Who Achieves community on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. There, you'll get the opportunity to network, find support and make new connections with over 1,000 women in business. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's podcast. And if there are any topics you would like to hear, just get in touch with me, your host, Sandra Garlick.